Well, that's gotten us up to 5 people. That's respectable. We can start there. Good morning. Hello, and welcome to the koha-US Systems Administration Special Interest Group, where we talk about systems administration in koha in the US because we're especially interested in it. We have no specific mandate or agenda besides let's talk about reports and bugs and issues and things in the administration module of koha. I've got like a few things that cropped up for me in the last couple weeks that were kind of interesting, but nothing earth-shattering. So if anyone else is like really hepped up about something, feel free to seize the floor.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
So I have a report and it uses the date picker for a date range.
Hmm.
And we hard coded in some time elements because this is for a point of sale report and we need to do some stuff about running it after they've balanced the drawer in the morning. So we picked a time, but sometimes we don't always make it by that time. So is there a way in the report to allow us, instead of having it hard coded in, to enter that when we run the report?
That seems like it'd be doable. Not in a like nicely, like I don't think you're gonna get a date and time picker unless you do some real fancy jQuery to your report site. But you could have the date picker and concatenate in a time that you enter. It would just kind of like require you to type that time.
Mm-hmm.
But that seems like it should work. Like if you take the date and just concatenate on space and then your like 6-digit time, I don't think the report will care.
Anybody know how to do that?
Yes. I always mean to spin up a sandbox before this meeting starts and then I forget. Let's see. If I could find us a koha, we can poke at it. Oh, good. I still had a sandbox from yesterday. I was playing with bookings to try to understand how bookings work before we get upgraded. Spoiler, I still don't understand how bookings work. Or rather, I don't understand how bookings don't fail in the same way trying to ensure a hold for a specific date has always failed. Anyway, that's a conversation for another day. All right, I'm gonna let's make something happen in the database so we can have something to find. Because I think this is a totally blank sandbox. So let's just maybe give Henry a checkout. Oh, no, this is not a totally blank sandbox. This is where I've been playing with bookings. Sure, just check it out. Okay, so then if we go to reports, I'm going to start with just select all from issues to give us something to look at. All right, so we've got a due date with a time. I'm actually going to use the issue date. That's going to give us a better time to poke at. But we want to like write a query that lets us specify a date and a time that'll find this. New report. So what if we say select all from issues where issue date. Now you're doing like a range, right? You want to say between this date and time and this date and time?
Right.
So you said right now your report is written so it has like a date hard coded in there. Is
Uh-huh.
that, or a time rather, is that doing something like take that date and then add on, let's say like 10.
Yeah, I think that's basically what it is.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Right, because we're at, sorry, I got sidetracked wondering where that server is, that the time is 1504. What is 1504? All right, so we expect this to find our checkout because it's building date times if we put them both start today and today. That worked. So I think I mean, it should work really just the same to replace this with, so I put the space in there just so we don't have to remember to start with it. It might be worthwhile to like give yourself that reminder. Oop, no, don't do that. Thank you. And if you're always running this for just one date, if you made the start date and end date have the same text for the selector, it would let you just put the date in once and use it both places. Yeah, there we go. Because then that ends up being the same thing we had before, really. Does that make sense, Barbara?
It makes sense. Can you run it so that it wouldn't find it? So you'd have to do,
Yeah.
or it's going to exclude.
Here, we'll do. We'll just make this earlier.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, the downside I would see is that it's going to give you false negatives if your time, like if you enter something weird for your time, like leave off a colon or something.
Right. I'll try it because what we're doing is we're using the point of sale and staff will either accidentally, they will forget to enter a transaction.
Sure.
So it has to be entered the next morning to be accounted for, or they will pick the wrong account. And so then staff has to go and get it in the right account. And so these corrections are happening on the day after they really occurred. And so the report we have now, it's got it hard coded in there. We open it. The earliest time we open is 9 in the morning. So we've got it running from like 9 o'clock to 8:59. And that's defined as our 24-hour period.
Sure.
Sometimes they don't get through the corrections until after. So then that still screws everything up. So can you copy that string that you put in there into the chat and I'll try that out?
Sure. I also sent it to you on Slack.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
But I'll plop it
I'm
here.
going to
That
try
makes
that.
sense. Where'd the chat go?
Thank
So
you.
it does look like you can turn on enable time in the flat picker options. I made a really
Oh, you
ugly
can?
one. You want to see?
Yeah.
Let's see. So I don't know how to do it the right way, but I just did a little I found something on Stack Overflow. It's a little bit of code. So when you load the page, it looks like this right now. Again, it's not the right way, but I think that you could get to the right way. But it has the time thingies here. And when I run the report, it is actually using those times that I picked.
Huh.
So I can put that chunk of code in there if you want to try and make it actually work right. And I would this is my test server. I would definitely recommend trying to limit it to just that specific report and that sort of thing. But right now, that's what I stuck in there.
Cool. Thank you.
That seems like a really reasonable bug to add a time option to that authorized value daily. Because yeah, sometimes you want that. It's concatenating stuff together is kind of janky.
I will try all of that out. Thank you so much.
I had some exciting report stuff to share.
Yeah, please.
So the reports templates thing is like opening up my world a little bit. So I had two things that I'd done with it. I've been playing with so far, and I'll share my screen again.
Now, do you mean
The,
the like the ability to download your report results as in a notice template?
I mean, the ability to pass my data through a template and give it
Yeah.
a nice snazzy interface to display.
Awesome.
So
Yes.
the main thing I've been doing with it is overdues, and I made sure and like made this all not private data, but it is pulling from a live server. So I went down this whole rabbit hole of I want a pretty print overdue notice that I can control and that's actually useful. But I'm in a consortium and it's a big mess. And everybody generates their notices at different times. So I ran this report, or I wrote this report, and I used some of that fancy concatenation that I learned from Andrew that he put in Slack to get me these nice blocks of when things were overdue based on the overdue delay that the library has set in their notice triggers. So I'm pulling all the data I need to build a nice notice, and then I'm like categorizing them out into this is the first time we notified you about this, the second, third. These are really overdue, and these are the things that aren't due yet. So the report is nasty. You can see it here. It's
That's
big and long and gross.
beautiful,
But
and it like excites and terrifies me.
but it works and I'm excited.
Yeah.
I did build it with CSS Grid because Lucas told me to stop using tables, and that also changed my life because it makes everything nicer. So now when I run it through this template I built called overdue, it makes this pretty page. And
Nice.
it's pulling that data that I just showed you into the little blocks. It's grouping by borrower number, so they're not printing like multiple notices for the same borrower. The only thing I have that's off right now is the totaling, which that's whatever. I might just leave it off for now. And then I built this interface that lets me print all the notices in a batch, so I can get everything at once if I want it. I can also print one at a time. It all comes out nice and formatted, so all they have to do is fold the thing. And then I also put some exclusions, so if I do that, then it'll leave those out of the batch print. So I'm pretty excited with
Yeah,
how it's
that's
been
amazing.
going.
That's like that's a really slick and cool implementation of a thing I was hoping to get around to doing like a crappy job of. So I'm impressed.
Oh, the other thing I did was the content editable that I learned from Lucas at conference last year. So I've got a lock unlock button here, so you can make changes to the notices before you print them, non-permanent changes, and then when you print it, those changes come through. So it's getting there. It's not quite ready for prime time, but I'm excited with the possibilities.
Yeah, that's super cool.
The other thing I did with it, I just started playing with today, and I don't have time to play with it, but I did it anyways, is dashboarding. So I really want to make like a monthly statistical dashboard for my libraries that they can run. So I made this simple report where it's like, this is how many patrons we're at in the past month. This is how many you have total. So this is like preliminary stuff. And then I made a dashboard template, and I can do cool snazzy formatting there too. So the next step I want to try is to kind of bring in a chart library, maybe a chart CSS library, and like do some line graphs and try and get it all on one page, so like they can just run a report and that's their board report, and it looks nice and it looks like an infographic and not just a table of data. So there's like two components to these things. So like there's the report and then there's the template, and those templates are just in the reports module. And then it's just a bunch of template toolkit here. And then the dashboard one looks like this. It's really simple at this point. But yeah, that's what I've been playing with. And once I get it into like a more digestible form, I'll probably post some of that stuff to the wiki, but it's, again, works in progress.
I look forward to copying all of your cool stuff. Does anybody want to follow that very impressive act?
I'm glad I went first.
Yeah, right. I carved a duck out of wood. I wrote a really simple report that I was happy about, that I thought I would wave at the group. I put it on the wiki because I remembered to put things on the wiki. It's my other piece of bragging. I was poking around at our puzzle collection, our jigsaw puzzles, and the titles of jigsaw puzzles are kind of meaningless for figuring out what you need to buy more of. So I wrote a report that would give me all of the puzzles, including the local cover image thumbnails, which was actually really simple. I thought it was going to be harder than it was. Let me see if I can actually find the puzzles. But I was happy, yeah, with how easy that was to get those to display. I saw there was a report already on the wiki for getting Amazon or Cozy cover images to show in a report, which is also cool and slightly more complicated, and was just not what I needed because my jigsaw puzzles all had local covers. But yeah, these are sorted by popularity. I'm been trying to figure out some sense of like, why do people like the puzzles they like? It's inscrutable, but it worked well to get the cover images in there. I can scratch my head over everything else for a while. I guess we like, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead and finish what you were going to say.
Oh, I guess we like color and landscapes.
That's really cool. And I started thinking immediately, we've got our library's got a big youth service collection, and somebody's going through and their job is to try and make sure we got photos for all of them. And so
Yeah.
I didn't even know that cover images was a table. So basically you could write a report that would see, here are some things that don't have images yet, or
Yeah. Yeah, and actually it's a real simple table to look at. It's just an item number and an image. So checking what doesn't have an image on it is dead simple.
I didn't expect reports to have pictures. That's cool.
Well, yeah, and I kind of thought I was going to have to do something fancier to like get them to display. And no, duh, it's just a website. Give it an image. So yeah, the query that I put into chat is the table contains the file name, and so then it's just concatenating that into a little strip of HTML.
And that's only looking for ones with local images at this point. The one you
Yeah. Yeah, if they're not local, they don't live in Koha. It's just Koha has a mechanism to query an external server, which can be done in a report. Like there is something on the wiki to do that. Does anybody else have report things they've been working on or report questions they've been running into? Just lost my Zoom window.
I have a question, something that was frustrating me yesterday. I've been looking for a report to list items to delete from OCLC, and we usually just plug a load of OCLC numbers into their website, and it takes away our holdings. I found reports that will output the 001 tag, but we also need the 035 tag because there are a lot of records that we migrated from Cersei that from Symphony that have the OCLC number in the 035s instead of the 001s. But when I add, let me just, should I screen share, or? It's not a very involved report. Let me see if, let's see.
Oh, I'm muted. Yes, please do share your screen. I have an immediate guess of what's going on, but
Okay,
we'll see.
man. I'm trying to find that share button.
Oh,
Okay. I'm almost there. Yay. Okay. All right. Okay. So here we go. And a lot of the reports I found had almost exactly the same start. There seemed to be a few of them in Mana. But so this part's in the original, and then I just added a comma. Oh, I actually commented that out for now. So comma and then another extract file. Does that look right, or?
I think you might need to either specify a subfield on the 035 or do a slash asterisk to wildcard it.
Oh,
Or I guess
okay.
the percent sign. Oh, brain.
Oh, that's right. So I could try that.
I think that's the difference though. Like the control field doesn't need you to specify a subfield, it just figures it out.
Yeah.
That doesn't look right though. And now I'm blanking on the exact syntax you want.
I think I might have it. Let me
Thank you.
post this chat because we migrated from Symphony too. So
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Chip, if you look there in the chat.
Windows open. Okay. I'll grab that from the
BM
chat.
stands for, what is BM? Deleted biblio meta underscore metadata.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And then you could also, yeah, that's what you want. If you, in what you've got there, Chip, so you've got 035 end quote. If you delete that percent sign and then after your square bracket, add a / and an asterisk. And I don't know why the wildcard you want to use within your extract value is different from the wildcard you want to use elsewhere in SQL.
Okay.
But that tells it get the 035 all the subfields. Whereas
Okay.
the thing that Sally put into chat says get the 035A specifically.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the other thing with Circe is it adds an 035 field every time you export bibs, and so some of them have a lot of them, and the first one's not necessarily the one
Oh,
you want to see with the OCLC number. Okay, I'll try those out.
if you've
And
got multiple 035s in your record, I believe this report is going to give you, I'm not sure if it's going to give you all of them or just the first one.
okay,
I think it might give you all of them, but put all of them in one field
yeah,
such that you only see one of them.
okay,
So that
okay,
could get interesting. You might
that
need to
could,
like group concatenate all the 035s. I don't know.
okay.
I encourage you to play with this
Yeah,
and ask
yeah,
more
yeah,
questions.
yeah. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna save that. And
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, SQL's
And
not good at repeating subfields.
yeah. Another thing I kind of wanted to throw out there is if well, the selectors for the holds ratio report, our selectors would like to exclude the express location because those copies, they don't want those counting in the holds ratios. And I was going to kind of suggest that for that report. Where's the best place to start with something like that? A ticket or Bugzilla or
I'd say you may as well start with a ticket.
yeah,
Probably Bywater will tell you that needs to be a bug in Bugzilla, and they could
okay,
help you phrase that, write it. It's also
yeah,
a thing you could write a custom report for and just not use
right,
the tool in circulation.
right, that's true. All right.
I think that tends to be where people go and is why that holds ratio report is so simple.
Yeah,
Because every time somebody says, oh, we could teach you this new trick,
yeah,
they end up just writing a report.
yeah, and it's nice and simple now.
Yeah,
I can understand wanting to keep it that way. So okay, that's kind of all I had. Thanks.
certainly.
Well, yeah.
Been trying to take notes and really failing. Any other reportsy questions amongst the group? Anybody run into any fun bugs lately? I stumbled on one that Christopher had filed a couple months ago and we were slow to notice. And actually it's worth mentioning because it's some data loss, but not like the most important data in the world. I don't know if anybody else is using password expiration dates, but we found that password expiration dates were getting deleted when patrons are edited by super librarians. It's very like niche for us. We don't have that many. We only have expiration dates on staff and we only have 2 super librarians in the whole system. But I think other libraries may be running into this more. And it was like a dumb, simple thing. When a super librarian edits a patron with a password expiration date, the edit form shows the password expiration date field, but doesn't load the value into it. So then it saves the record with a blank in that field because it didn't load the value. So it's just like every time a super librarian touched the patron, the password date went away.
Yeah, even super librarians can't be perfect.
Yeah. And yeah, it was a really easy thing, a really easy patch. I don't think there's a good or easy way to band-aid this. So be aware of it until the patch gets backported. And at this point, it's not quite pushed to master yet, but I think it will. Kate, the release manager, flagged it, so she's watching it.
Seems like that something like that should be backported.
Yeah, yeah, kind of no reason not to.
This is maybe a little more circulation, but it was something really interesting we found. We recently turned on the blocking accounts if they have too many failed login attempts, and started getting a lot of accounts that have been locked, and some of them I have a report that shows one has 2,872 failed login attempts, one has 1979, one has 1268, and one of them is a test account, so I think that one's used for the SIP connection, but the other two look like normal patron accounts, and so I'm trying to figure out if there's something weird going on with a bot or something. I can't see somebody trying to log in 2,000 times before giving up.
No, that seems unlikely. Does it show? I think it distinguishes between like, I think like an Aspen attempt would show as an API action, and whereas if they were on your OPAC proper, it would be OPAC.
It shows in the logs.
Yeah.
Ours only go back 6 months, and so a lot of those don't have stuff logged.
That's interesting though.
So just a fun thing that we found. I don't know if there's a security risk or if it's just I don't know, a weird thing that's happened with a couple accounts. Do any of you use the failed login blocks, or because Bywater mentioned that maybe we should just set it really high? Because right now it's at 5 and that's getting quite a few people blocked. But then at the same time, it's nice to have the notice to know that people are actually not able to get into their accounts. It's nice to know that too.
Yeah, I think we set ours kind of high. Probably 10 or 12, I can't recall. But on the advice from Bywater, I think it was mostly some problem with the Overdrive API for a while.
What was that setting again?
Let me see if I can find the preference. I don't remember the name off.
I just had it up. Failed login attempts. Looks like we have it blank, so I guess we're not blocking anybody. Kind of makes me feel like maybe we should. Also wonder. So that gets stored right in the borrowers table, right?
Are those failures consecutive or just over time?
It's consecutive. Once somebody successfully logs in, it resets the count.
Oh, well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I know I fail at my password all the time.
Now see, now I'm curious what who's got the most failed login attempts?
I'll put my report in the chat if you want the sequel.
That would be awesome.
It's borrowers login underscore attempts is the what you're looking for.
Okay, yeah. I've got somebody at 517. How mad are they? This is an important thing to think about.
And the report right now is only comparing login attempts versus your system preference. So if you don't have it set, it's not going to show anything. So you might want to edit that where statement field.
Oh, so you're saying like only show me patrons where their failed number is more than
Then the system
that makes
preference.
sense.
The downside is once an account's locked, it never times out. They have to reset their password, or somebody has to reset it for them to be unlocked, which is one of the downsides of it.
If you do the like the Koha password reset thing from their patron record, does that reset their login accounts?
Yeah, anytime.
Okay.
If they reset it on their end, or if the staff resets it, either one will unblock it.
Did you
That's
say
easy
you were
enough
going to
to
share
do.
your report?
I forgot to hit enter. Yes.
Well, we haven't talked about anything in the systems administration module yet. Does anybody have system preferences they've been playing with, or I don't know, crazy edits to their circ roles or other interesting goings on? Okay,
I
cool.
put a link to a bug.
Oh yeah,
that,
I clicked that and then forgot.
Yeah, just something to put on people's radar. I desperately want to get some validation for emails in Koha, especially the way emails have been the last couple years. We're getting a lot of bounces that we have to deal with on a daily basis, and a lot of it is entry error. And there are some validation companies out there. You can get you can set up a free account and do 25 validations a day through their API. But you can also, purchase more validations for a given month, or I can't remember what the parameters are, but it's affordable. I think it's worth it because it, if you use the API like the one that I pointed out in verifolia.com, their API you can incorporate into the patron edit page, and for your fields that include an email address, it will automatically look at that email address and see whether it's a valid email or not. And if it's not, if there's some issue with it, if it's not valid, if it's got issues behind it, like it's full or blocking or whatever, it won't let you save it, which is incredibly helpful.
So it does test more than just if it's valid. It also
Correct. Yeah, so I mean, it prevents you from database full of invalid email addresses. When we get bounces, at least for our library, the bounces come to me, and so I deal with those. I can't imagine how many are going untouched out there, but when we get bounces, I go and I look at the message, and a lot of times it'll tell me what the issue is, and I'll put that reason in the patron account, ask them to deal with it rather than just letting it continue. But you know, sometimes the reason is very vague, and I have to go out to one of these verifiers. I throw the email address in there, and it gives me a little bit more clarity on, you know, what to say to the patron in their account so that they know how to deal with it. But it's a little more proactive. Some libraries probably choose to just ignore these things, but you know, I think with the direction that the email has been going lately, it's like, you know, how long can you go and ignore these failed emails before you start getting dinged for it?
That was related to something that I was curious about, how other libraries handle their bounce backs, since we did receive an unprecedented number yesterday and we're debating how we handle it and how we should handle them. But along those lines, what we should do with our notices that are flagged as spam or something like that.
Yeah. You know, there's a couple ways to look at this. I think staff can default to looking at it like, well, they're just not getting their emails, or you know, it's just complaining about an email address. And you know, sometimes some of these email vendors or providers are, you know, you're giving you false information because they're saying it's failing, and the patron says, no, it's not, we're getting our messages. I've found that with the Time Warner Roadrunner email accounts. They're notorious for that because it's a you know, it's an add-on to a internet service that they provide, and they don't really care about, you know, quality email. So but you know, the flip side of this is, if you're getting these bounces, you know, it means your patrons are not getting their notifications, and your patrons are probably, you know, missing their holds, or you know, they're overdue on things and not knowing it, and they're getting frustrated, and your clerks aren't the debugging staff. And so they're, well, this is the email we have, is that correct? Yeah, okay, well, let's just see what happens, kind of thing, rather than knowing how to direct the patron. Do you have another email to try? Or you know, what really is going on behind the scenes? And so providing that information to the patron and staff gives them a little bit more information about it, and helps them to figure out how to resolve it. It's like, this one doesn't look like we're going to get anywhere with it. Maybe you should have your notices through text or a phone rather than through email, if you don't have another email address. So, you know, trying to steer them towards those resolutions rather than ongoing frustration with, I'm not getting my notices.
In addition to flagging the account with a message, do you take any action on the account itself? Like, will you uncheck email if they're really not getting email, or do you just leave as is?
It's kind of morphing right now. Initially, what I do is I have some drop-down boxes. In fact, let me share that. Get in a place where I can share. I think why is my test account looking? That's weird. Oh, I changed the name. I may have shared this in a video. So I have some jQuery where like, if I have an email address and the address has problems with it, these are some of the most common things that I get reasons for on email addresses, so I'll flag it as doesn't exist. Mailbox is full, it's blocked or disabled if I'm determining that they're doing something on their end. If particular providers will when I come across those, we'll flag them. We're just not letting them save that information in the patron edit screen anymore. Or if they've directly filed a complaint, if we're getting more specific, information that they've filed a complaint against us, marked specifically marked us as spam, and it's flagging us in systems. It's a little bit more aggressive there, but the flagging us as spam and it doesn't exist. I'll when I select that, it clears out the email and I have it put in a restriction on the account because I want to stop them in their tracks and deal with it, not just, oh, there's a message on the screen, I'm just ignoring it kind of thing. So it'll put that information in there. It copies that address in there so that we can see exactly what email address was in there at the time. I could take this further and clear out the email flags if they've got something else in there. Usually I won't touch it unless there is, they have a text number or a or something. Maybe, because we have the phone system now, I might, just, if there's no other option, I'll clear out all the email flags and put the phone flags in its place, especially if I'm taking out the email address. If it's one of the others, like they're full or there's something minor going on, kind of hinky, I might not touch it, but where I am removing that email address, definitely we want to keep getting notifications to them. So I will change, how we're delivering, especially because it's a little weird with how Koha works. If you have if you have text and email selected, both of them will go through. But if you have phone will not go through unless you do not have email or text. So while you can have all three, not all three go through, which is kind of interesting. It's like if you're giving them the option to do all three, why are you not letting all three through? And Koha says, oh, if you're doing phone, don't phone them if you've sent them an email or a text. So
This is kind of a stupid interjection, but is there a reason you have that plus sign in front of the SMS?
because that's what Twilio requires.
Interesting. I think we use Twilio, but we don't have the pluses in front of ours.
They may have changed something, I don't know, but initially when we set it up, it was saying you needed to have the plus in front of it.
How long ago did you set up?
It's been a couple of years.
Okay. That's probably something I should look into. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
We also have a plus sign before all our SMS numbers for Twilio, which we set up almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, and other providers don't necessarily require that. It was something specific when we moved over to Twilio.
And no part of me would be shocked if Twilio quietly changed that and didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Sounds right.
One thing we did with email addresses was we added a welcome message. So everybody signs up for library card and welcome to the library, and email goes out. And then, once a week, we kind of go through the bounces, and 7% of those fail. And a lot of them we find are gaml.com addresses. Real easy to fix. We just fix them. But others were like, we have no idea what this is supposed to be, and we delete them and add a message. But it really cut down on the number of reminder notices and overdue notices and those things that failed because they were failing right when the account was created. So
yeah,
it was
I
an
would
unintended benefit to those.
I would catch those, we have those welcome messages and I catch those like within the hour that the staff member enters it, and I walk over to them and let them know. We've got one staff member that's kind of dyslexic in entering those things in, so it's like you point those out and oh wow, that was fast. So, but it's nice too because if you catch those and they're obvious errors, especially with the domains, you can fix it and then go in and hit resend. And with what I have found too, which is kind of interesting, with Koha, you can go in, they finally fixed this where you can go in, fix the email, and then go into the notice and resend it. And that's another thing that I'll do is, if it was a fairly recent bounce, I'll look at the notices after, if it was an easy fix on the email address, and I'll resend it. But on resends, it used to be if you resent, it resent to the bad address. They fixed that so that if you fix the address and then go in and resend, it uses the new address. What is weird is that if you change the delivery, the notification to a different format, like if you change it from email to text or phone and hit resend, it still goes out, it still tries to resend the old format. It doesn't look for the new format and try to send it that way.
You
So I
mean
do
like
have
if
a
you
ticket out
change
on
the
that.
if you change the patron's notification preference, it doesn't like change the method of previously generated notifications?
Correct.
Yeah.
Which,
see how that's
I kind of get that because, of the way that it's being stored, but it defies natural logic. It says like, okay, let's change the format, let's go and resend it. And it's like, doesn't work that way.
Rebecca stuck a bug in chat for canceling a pending notice. You all send notices once a day, right?
We do. So
Yeah.
it's a little different, but we keep running into a problem where something gets trapped for a hold, the notice is generated, and then for some reason that item has to be pulled, it's damaged or wet or something and they didn't catch it. So there's no way for us to stop that message from going out. Which would be nice if there was a way to do that. So since we were talking about notices and things like that, I thought I'd just plug that bug.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. If you have notices waiting to send, you may as well have the ability to stop them if you know they're wrong. I would have to race to the computer to get the notice before it goes.
Also useful for testing. So if you needed to test, like, is the notice actually generating on someone's account, but you don't actually want them to go out, the notice to go to the person. We're finding that with like our claims returned and our lost items. So before we place a claims returned on a lost item to get the bill off their account, we're returning it, then we're checking it back out, which generates a checkout notice. So it would be nice if there was a way for us to just say, don't send that notice to them.
Yeah.
It would be awesome if you could just flag, for your test accounts, if you could, flag it somehow as a test account and it would go through all the motions of the notifications, but actually not send something if you didn't want it to.
So the process message queue cron job knows how to determine which notices to send and which to not send based on a where statement, which really like you could set your cron job to never send a notice where the borrower number is, your test account. It'd be kind of weird. And like my big hesitation is that 3 years from now, you'll be very confused as to why this one patron never gets notices.
Exactly. Having stuff in cron jobs, you don't see that stuff on this end. So it's like,
Yeah.
why is this not working?
And someday Bywater is going to get tired of me asking them for a copy of my cron jobs every single time I change anything.
There is a bug for that, isn't there? To make the cron jobs configurable.
Yeah.
I think there's also a plugin that PTFS Europe was working on. It was like a GUI for cron jobs.
I would take a GUI just for report scheduling cron jobs. Like that's 90% of what I'm doing. And if that could just be a text file somewhere in my admin that I could go and set those up myself, that'd be really cool.
That would be awesome.
Then I would do them wrong and they wouldn't send, and they have to open tickets to get Bywater to fix it, but I'd feel empowered.
Powered to make your own mistakes.
Yeah, yeah.
There was a question that went out yesterday in Slack. Somebody was wanting to know if there was a way to limit placing holds. I think it was holds, placing holds on items to once a month.
Oh yeah, which was an interesting question. It was like somebody with museum passes.
Yeah, in hotspots.
That was me. We just
Ah.
added museum passes. We had park passes, and both of them, we have the rule that they're only allowed to check them out once a month. But right now, we just kind of tell people that, and we hope that they don't check them out more than once a month.
Is it a physical item that they're checking out?
Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad.
For us, you know, we have both, and yeah, our hotspots are never sitting around, and so it's like you have to jump in the holds queue anyway. So
Yeah.
you know, the holds queue kind of, you know, regulates those things. I mean, our hotspots only check out once for a week at a time. So technically, if there were no holds, a person could, you know, place it on hold 4 times a month. But
Yeah.
because of, you know, the popularity of them, it kind of, you know, prevents that issue. I think the only thing, I think the thing that, you know, is not taken into account in this case is the fact that if you want things to be discoverable, you know, and you don't want people having them out constantly like that, and you want that kind of limitation, you know, that would help in that situation. So like, you know, one person that knows that they can place this thing on hold constantly, and it's never sitting out for other people to discover, would be a problem if it was something that isn't getting a lot of holds on it.
Yeah, and we don't allow holds on our park passes and museum passes, so that kind of keeps that a little bit in check. It always is, you know, staff who use it a whole bunch, and then all of a sudden the rest of the people start figuring it out and using it. But yeah, the same thing with our hotspots. The holds lists are so long that it doesn't really matter. But I was just curious on those too, just because they get such heavy use. I was wondering if there was any way to limit them easier, but I don't know. Yeah.
Is it once per calendar month that they can check out, or is it once per 30 days?
I think our policy right now is kind of just says once per month, so however we interpret it.
Because isn't there a way to have something automatically check in after a certain amount of time? So what if you had a limit of 1 and you never check them in when they're returned? They just automatically return after 30 days and then they can check out another one?
That would totally work if it wasn't like a physical thing you need to get back from them. If it was like generating a digital code, that would make, yeah.
Yeah.
It's harder if you need the thing back and you need to track that they gave you the thing back.
Yeah.
This doesn't
And I
sound like a crazy development,
Plus,
aside from
you'd
the
have
fact
to-
that it's adding circ rules.
You'd
I
have to
like
find a
the
way
answer.
not to accidentally automatically, or to not check that in if you're checking in a bunch of things from the patron's account. So it would have to be kind of in a separate list almost.
Yeah.
But then
I
wouldn't
like
you
the
check
idea of
that?
just adding a message, because we can just do a predefined message. Staff could just click on that, say patrons checked out a park pass, and
Yeah.
then it's got a month, you know, they can see it and delete it when it's past that time.
That's
But-
what we do at my
Yeah.
library. We also do that with the hotspots as well. And we just hope that staff are remembering to delete the old messages. But we
Mhm.
also have ours set to once a month, just so we can have a little wiggle room with interpretation as well, because we don't want to keep track of, we don't want to be up there doing math, basically. That's the bottom line. No
Yeah.
math on the spot. I don't do that to my staff. So basically, like if it says we checked out 312, we would say not until 412.
That sounds like a pretty reasonable use case to like argue that Koha should know how to do these things. But I don't want to sign off in the bug. It sounds hard.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like because we have other things that are really high demand, and if we could keep people from continuously rechecking them out so they're never on the shelf for anybody else to discover them, just books and video games and things like that too. But I'm sure we would probably never implement it. I just think it would be cool.
One thing that you could do is, you know, have a placeholder so that while the physical item isn't there, you could have something on the shelf that, you know, that talks about it, you know, so it's almost like they're discovering it on the shelf.
Yeah.
But then, you know, you get them in the queue and it kind of self-corrects.
Yeah, kind of like when you take the ticket up to the counter at the store when it's out or something for a rain check, or
Yeah,
can have book rain checks. That would be kind of cool.
we have digital displays, and we have other things where, you know, we have a QR code that goes right to the hold for that item. So if something's not there, you could have that placeholder there, and they have the QR code and say, it's not here, here, scan this code and place it on hold, kind of thing. So it kind of fills in that gap for them.
I like that.
Well, friends, it is now 11:03. You don't adjust for time zones. We're 3 minutes past when we were supposed to be done. I'm not like in
Oh,
a big
no.
hurry. Yeah, nobody's beating down the Zoom door.
How am I going to get those 3 minutes back? Yeah.
But I don't want to kick y'all out if you have things you really need to talk about. This is your, Koha safe space to be vulnerable about your Koha needs.
Although you guys really need to jump off of this so that I can get to the recording sooner, because I missed something at the beginning that I really want to see.
What was it? What did we do? Well then, I think we did a meeting. Congratulations, everybody. Way to meet. All right, we'll see you in a month. We'll try again.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye, thank you.